Library Board of Trustees to order. Where's Dennis? No, that was Jeremy. Dennis, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for getting us started, Dennis.
It's definitely bright and early here.
Permission to advocate for your sponsors to say, send them to my office for you.
Pamela, can you mute your mic?
Yes, just a moment. I was just saying good morning.
Oh, okay. All right, I need a motion to approve today's meeting agenda, please.
Also motion.
You second? I'll second. Okay. Everybody in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Great. Passes unanimously. Now we need a motion to approve the meeting minutes, please. Okay. Any discussion? Any corrections? Everybody in favor say aye. Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. And that brings us to the director's report. Faith is remote today because she's a little bit under the weather. So she said she's not going to turn her camera on. She's beautiful enough.
It's because I look sick. Hi everybody. I look sick. I apologize. So thank you everyone. And again, I apologize that I am not with you all today. So first on my director's report this morning, I want to introduce to you Sarah. Sarah is with us this morning. She is an intern at North Regional Library, and we are so excited that she chose to do her internship with Cumberland County Public Library. Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're studying, and what your goals are?
So I'm currently in my last semester at UCU's MLS program, and I started out actually interning here in Colorado, and then now I'm finishing up at North Regional. So I graduate in May, and I'll be looking for jobs, and I want to work in youth services.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. And we wish you the best of luck. And like I said, we're just really glad that you're doing your internship here with us. So next on the agenda is an introduction of Heather Hall, who Heather Hall presented a presentation on the innovation and technology team, I think last meeting. Heather Hall has agreed to fulfill the role of interim deputy director for the system, but she was unable to make it today due to a death in her family, so she sends her regrets. But you'll see her a lot more at meetings, and we're really excited for her to take on this interim deputy director role. With that, I will transition into my PowerPoint, and I'm going to share my screen with you all.
Can I ask a question right quick? So
of course you can.
I know that the interim director position has been open for quite a while. And this is actually unrelated to that specific position, but more generally, when there is a position open internally at the library, is there sort of encouragement for current staff members to apply?
So one thing that we want to do is I want to make sure that I am cultivating the staff that we have within the system. We want to be equal and fair in any of our hiring. But one thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we recognize and cultivate and support the talent that we have in the professional development. And Heather volunteered for this role, and so she said, I'll do it. And I said, okay, let's roll on. So I think that's really important too. And it's a good experience for her because she wants to go into a directorship in her career.
Yeah, I was just asking because when the director's position was open, there was only one internal candidate, and I don't know, but I'm fairly certain that there is a lot more qualified individuals in the system. And so
there's a wealth of knowledge in our system, absolutely.
Okay, all right, thanks.
You're welcome. Can you guys see my director's report?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so we'll jump right in. So like I said, today in the report, I'm going to give some updates, and then in the new business, we're going to go into the library budget and also have a facilities update. So I want to let you all know that we will have an expansion to Sunday service at headquarters. Originally, it had been paused in January due to the COVID numbers that we had, but now that the COVID numbers have dropped and we are in a lower area of transmission, we are going to be doing that, and that will start on April the 3rd. And like I said, that will just be at headquarters for right now, and that will be from 2 until 6 p.m. We will also be opening up our meeting, study, conference rooms for the community as they were prior to the COVID closure, and this will be on Monday, April the 4th, 2022. So right there, the 1st of April, we'll be making these changes. Our county buildings are now mask optional, and our programming numbers, originally we were capped at 25 folks in the room. Now it's going to be the number of people who can be socially distant in the room. And so that's going to vary based upon rooms. So for example, in the Pate room, you can have, 50 or more people. So we're really excited for that and how that's going to help our programming. One update that I don't have in here that I just got an email of permission for. We had planned to have staff day back in the fall. It was going to be at Crown Coliseum, a full day. All of you were invited to the luncheon. We have just gotten permission to have it on May the 4th. So please mark your calendars for May the 4th. That will be our staff day. It is a full day of activities for staff at the Crown Coliseum, and we want to invite all of you to at least be a part of our luncheon and our afternoon activities. Heather and her team spent a really long time putting together really great activities back in the fall, and we're going to bring those activities to this event on the 4th. And of course, it is May the 4th, so it is Star Wars Day. So, Star Wars apparel is always encouraged. Our storytelling festival is in full swing. We had a kickoff at March 11th, Friday night at Segra Stadium. Bart, thank you so much for coming out. Despite the weather, we had a really good turnout. We've had 8 sessions, and we've had over 350 attendees. I think we have 4 more sessions left. Carla, is that correct?
Correct, next week.
And can you give us a little bit, I'm going to put you on the spot, can you give us a little bit about those sessions and where they are and who the storyteller is?
The last storyteller is Amy Sale. She actually works for the planetarium, the Moorhead Planetarium, and which is perfect because all we need is the sun, the moon, and the stars. And she will be, at Alpha Academy next Wednesday and Thursday mornings. And then we have a public performance Wednesday afternoon at Hope Mills at 4 o'clock. And then Thursday afternoon, she will be at St. William Collier Elementary. We were trying to target Title I when we were scheduling. Of course, we still have the cap on the numbers, and I was a little concerned about getting people to come out. And so we went a lot of our sessions. And I know the session we did yesterday at Rockbridge Elementary, they loved it. The principal was so excited to finally be bringing people back into the schools. And so,
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Carla. So with that, I want to just take a moment and I want to give a shout out to Carla, to Nora, to Jessie Jones, who is the Emerging Adult Coordinator, and to Katie Waltz, who is the interim YS librarian too at headquarters. They have been the folks who are really in charge of this program and this festival. They have worked so hard, and while doing the Storytelling Festival for this year, Carla has been writing the grant for Storytelling Festival next year. So I appreciate that, and I really appreciate the creative ways that Carla and her team have been trying to go with our goals of breaking down barriers and meeting people where they are. Like Carla mentioned, we weren't sure how we were going to be able to have people in our locations. So we went out to them. We went to the schools, and she did a great job with that. And so Carla, I just really want to thank you and your team for all that you've done for the Storytelling Festival. So thank you. Just some updates for our friends. So the total of 2022 members is 314. Our February book sale revenue was $8,706. And Dennis is the trustee who will attend the May 3rd Friends meeting. And that concludes my report. Does anybody have any questions? And if not, you guys move on whenever you need to.
Well, I think we're coming right back to you because the next thing is the library budget.
Yes. So you all have your budget books with you, and I'll just go ahead and go into the budget book. And so I don't want to read it all out to you, but what I do want to do is I want to show you talk about our strategic goals. I want to highlight a few things in the budget, give you some more insight on the additional requests that we made, and then take any of your questions.
You're not waiting on me, are you?
We've lost you.
Faith, are you there?
She's talking, but yeah.
Oh no, we can't hear you, Faith.
We don't hear you, Faith, if you can hear us.
You're still screen sharing, but we can't hear you at all. We can tell you're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Just text it. Text it. You did? Okay. It's her awkward silence. Oh, she says she's something crashed on her end. Okay. Oh, the power went out. Oh,
Holy cow.
Can she call into?
That's what I was just gonna say. I don't know what the extension is here. 1303. Have her call the extension 1303.
She's hotspotting. She'll be right back. Okay.
Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Sorry, I knew that crash was something. Our power, they've been doing work in our neighborhood, and there was a large crash, and there it went, and our power went out. Sorry about that. What was the last thing that y'all heard?
Just the introduction.
Okay, great. So let me go back to my PowerPoint. Okay, so with that, you're going to see some of these new items and these new strategic goals in our budget request. So, for example, with our new community engagement division and our digital navigators, they are going to be out on the road more. So we're going to have increased budget costs. One thing that I really want to note in the budget, and I'm really excited about how we work this out. So as I mentioned with you all before, so our programming, supplies, and money for performers who come in has typically been completely sponsored by the Friends. And we are so thankful for that. But in some of the fiscal changes that we're making with the Friends in the library, the Friends will become a agency that works to supplement the programming funds that we're getting from the county. So with that, we actually have added in about $20,000 worth of programming funds into our budget. And then the Friends are going to be granting money to us to help supplement that. So you're going to see that change as well. We are also taking and we are implementing Library Aware, which is a software, kind of a marketing software that is going to allow for staff to have the ability to create their own flyers and book displays and web slides, all kinds of wonderful stuff. I can't say enough about Library Aware, but it's all going to be under the branding and marketing guidelines of PIO. So we're really excited to be able to add this software as well. So things that also have increased in this fiscal year is the cost of our security per hour has gone up. And, the cost of security, subscriptions, and databases go up. So we have annual things that go up every year. So with these additional costs, we looked really hard to offset costs. And so one thing that I try to do as much as possible is I want to be a zero balance budget. I want to use evidence-based budgeting and to make sure that our data is is going into our budget. So we looked into different things to try to offset costs. So we're no longer paying for a collection fee service. Nate did a great job, shout out to Nate, of looking at our unused phone lines. And because we had been paying for those phone lines and we're removing those phone lines, we have worked to improve the efficiency of our buildings and to decrease our utility fees. And we're going to be evaluating and decreasing our printing. So I say all that to say, if you can join me if you go into the budget summary part of your notebook, and if you can join me on page 4, and I'll take a minute for everybody to get there. So on page 4, you'll see our regular library budget. And I really want to pull your attention down towards the bottom of the page, the line that says total operating. This is the line that I focus on, because within our budget, there's personnel items, right? And that is, salaries, it's longevity, Social Security, those types of things are going to go up. Both I know that and the county knows that. So with that, I really focus on the operating budget. So you'll see in fiscal year 22, our operating budget, our adopted budget was $2,242,411. So with all those changes that we talked about, with the cost of fuel going up, with the library aware, with all the adding $20,000 in programming, with our printing being under us now, we are only $9,883 more requesting in our operating budget than last year. I am really proud of that, because that just shows how much money we have worked to be effective with and efficient with, so that all of those additional costs were only $10,000 more. So with that, I don't want to read out everything to you all, but I'll take questions on the operating budget now before I go into the additional request. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple maybe here, Faith. The fuel, of course, that's the concern being with the number of people, the number of movements that have occurred here in the last few months. I know you're planning on having a lot more travel associated with the fuel consumption. Have you taken into account the projected fuel increases for the balance of this calendar year into the next portion for 2023?
Absolutely. So Fabian and I actually had put in a lower number for our fuel costs. And then when we, keeping abreast of things that are going on right now, we actually upped the projection into what you see. So we did take that into account.
Okay, good.
Thank you for that question. That was Dennis, right?
Yes, that was me. I'm sorry. In your narrative, you talk about certain items that have operating expenses moving up. Of course, security, we understand why, the need for that, especially at headquarters, databases. I think you also mentioned subscriptions, but when I looked on that line item, unless I'm reading it wrong, I see it decreasing. It's a very small amount, insignificant. I didn't know if there were other lines that you were incorporating in your narrative regarding subscriptions.
So actually that's a good question. Let me make sure that I am. Pamela, do you have anything to add to that while I'm looking to make sure I answer correctly?
I do not. Oh, this Pamela?
I'm Pamela Force, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Subscriptions you have to renew every year. And those do go up, so that may be part of the subscriptions that she's mentioning.
It is database subscriptions.
Okay.
And I apologize, Dennis. I don't have your answer off the top of my head, but I'll get back to you. And I'm gonna blame brain fog on that.
Well, that's not an issue, because the databases, they're significantly up. It's over 15,000, so it makes sense if you're incorporating, that in it. That makes total sense.
No, it's different databases.
Magazine subscriptions are part of the book budget. They're not a separate fund item. They're just part of the book budget. They come off the top of the book budget. So when we're talking subscriptions, it's usually digital.
I think Ariel had a question for you too.
Yeah, you talked about increasing, we've already talked about increasing vehicle usage and the gas and all that, but maintenance and repair is staying consistent, but with more usage, is that actually realistic?
It's a good question. Nate?
Yes, the maintenance and repair, what actually lets us refer to is our actual own fleet. So our five vehicles of fleet. So basically what happened over this fiscal year, we've actually reduced the vehicle. So therefore, although the costs are going up, with the reduction of one of the vehicles going away, it offset that cost.
But we're planning on increasing usage from before.
Right, but vehicle usage, what you're seeing on that is actually not fuel, directly tied to fuel usage.
Right, I'm looking at the maintenance and repair. Will
Correct.
that be affected by any of that?
No,
Or
because we
literally-
reduced one vehicle from our fleet,
Okay,
yeah, it offset it, correct.
okay.
Yeah.
Pam, did you have a question?
I did not.
Okay. Anybody else?
I had another question not related to vehicles. On Roman numeral 2, which is just the justification, the microfilm, where you spoke about, or you wrote about wanting to increase because it needs replacing. Is microfilm the best way to preserve what's going on, or should this be a digitization effort, or like, why are we sticking with microfilm?
Pamela Course? Can I call on you for that one?
With the digital versions, you have to buy entire decades. It is very expensive. Sometimes it's not available in the digital. And the microfilm does degrade. There's an acidification process that happens. And because there was a change in ownership, who owned the right material, we had 2 years when we didn't order because we couldn't get anything at them. So we are backlogged in orders. But there's ways we can do it, but you gotta buy big chunks, that's tens of thousands of dollars.
Is that not a better option moving forward?
But it's for access for a certain period of time. It's not purchasing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's mainly in the state and history.
It's only state and local history.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's purely the Fayetteville Observer.
Okay.
Thank you, Pamela.
Question on your collection fees, and it's really just for clarification. We got rid of the collection fee is going down, 40,000 to zero. Does that correlate to the revenue section where your book fines are worth 100 and something thousand in revenue now? It's, that's what we can back to. So,
It does. And so with that, and sorry, my connection's a little bit spotty, so if y'all can't hear me, y'all text me, let me know. It does, so it does correlate. So originally the library was paying for a collection agency when, to call folks and when there were outstanding books and items like that. So, and it was at least $40,000 a year. So when we did the request to go fine free in August of 2021, the commissioners took it a step further, and they took away the charges for the fines for books that are lost or damaged. So that does affect that. And so one way
that was the question, because I thought if that was a direct correlation, I didn't realize that fine free had passed. So
yes,
I appreciate it. So that makes
you're welcome.
Just thought,
and one thing,
120,000 to save 40 financially.
Yeah.
Free. That's
Faith, are we
yes,
supposed
ma'am.
to vote on the budget?
It does say to vote, or it says approve. So I guess you guys need to approve it. Marilee, I'm going to defer to you on that.
I'm gonna say yes, but after all the questions are asked and answered.
Yep, and I have a few more things if there aren't any other questions with the, well, actually, there's one more thing I did want to point out, and then I'll talk about the additional requests. When you look at the revenue, one thing that you'll see is the non-resident fees, how it is steadily decreasing. One reason that it is decreasing is every time that there is a library that is near us that becomes a part of NC Cardinal, that means we share resources, and that we can share resources between the different library systems. And so we have seen a decrease each year in the revenue from out of county cards when that happens. And I think Sampson County just came a part of it, Pamela, of course.
I think Sampson is I think there's one more county that touches us that isn't part yet, or is going to be part. Yes, I think Sampson County is either slated to come on board or has come.
So that is one of the reasons why that is continually decreasing as well. All right. Are there any other questions on the regular budget before I go into the additional requests?
I have a short comment about the non-residents. The bit that you brought to us at the last meeting about county employees that are not residents of Cumberland County being eligible for library cards. I was at the Board of Elections the other day that has 2 staff members that are non-residents, and they were really excited about that.
Good. We are working to, there should be an update that goes out in the all staff newsletter. I think there was already one that went out, and then we're going to do another one with specific information for staff to know how they can get their cards at the end of March. And I appreciate PIO's help with that. So I'm glad they were really excited.
On the computer software, you talked a lot about getting laptops. Are those going to acquire additional software than the desktops, or is that already included in like laptop acquisition costs? Because I think you said that was a grant, correct?
So there are a few different things. So with the laptops that we're getting as a part of the grant that we have, everything is covered under the grant with that. So there won't be any additional items with that. But if you look in the additional requests that I've put through, let's see. So if you go back to the memo on page 1. So I had 4 different additional requests that I put in for the budget to the different departments. And they're broken down with technology requests, maintenance and repair, and then capital improvement. So one of that is we are working to, and we've already started piloting it at headquarters, is we want to transition for our public computers into a laptop model. I think we talked about this briefly at our last meeting, but this allows the customers to have flexibility within the building. They can work in groups. They're not in a traditional kind of we're looking at you, lab where it's really confined into where they can go. So with that, the request is for $21,448 extra dollars with the refresh. So there is a cycle of refresh with our public computers and our staff computers, but right now I'm just focusing on public, for our public computers that IT does on a regular schedule. So in order to do that, I am asking for $21,000 extra dollars because laptops cost more than the PCs. With that, there's no extra software costs that have to be with that because it would have everything on it that we would on a PC. I'm just asking for it to be in a laptop form. Does that answer your question, Ariel?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So it's number 2, but it's actually my top priority budget request for this fiscal year, is to update our tech logic and circuit hardware and software. So that is our entire software package that helps with our check-in and our check-out. It's updating the gates, it's updating the check-in pads, the self-checkouts, all of that. And so it would be a total of $174,160 over 4 years. So with that, one thing that I want to do is when we make an investment, I want to make sure that we're making the investment the best way we can and we're maintaining it. So the investment to do the tech logic and the circuit was approximately $450,000. And there was no refresh, no updating built into that. And I want to make sure that we do that so that we can use it to its effectiveness. With the update, we will be able to utilize a software called Basecamp. And this software will allow us to get down to the hour data and analytics on our door counts, on our checkouts. That's going to help me have an evidence-based budget. So with that, we have been having conversations with our IT department on what our key performance indicators are so we can do better evidenced and data-based budgeting. And we are working to have a dashboard created with the ITS department where we can pull in all different information. So, I mean, we're talking heat map, GIS heat maps of where our library card holders, what zip codes they come from, not what people check out, but what types of materials they check out. Is it books? Is it hotspots? That kind of thing. we could bring in this information about our door counts down to the hour. So if I'm thinking of using all this data and analytics from a budget perspective, right? We can look at it and we see, okay, if we're looking at our hours, or if we're looking at expansion of service. Well, if I can use this data and analytics to see, okay, what hours we're busy, what hours we're not busy, I can better use my staff resources, my facilities resources, based upon the needs of the community. So we're really excited to move in that direction. And this TechLogic request, which will allow for Basecamp, is a part of that. Any questions about the technology request that I've made?
I have one question, because you said, you're splitting it up over 4 years. Does that mean you're going to be updating, an entire location at a time? Or does that mean, for example, you would be updating, I don't know, all the checkout pads at all locations, and then the next year you would be doing a different item at all locations? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, ma'am. So the plan that we had put together was based on locations. And a reason why of that is the gates that would allow for, tracking the movement of the hours and, the folks going in, and they are security gates. Those are a large part of that expense. So we would do a few locations at a time.
Okay.
But that wouldn't stop us from already having the updated software and all that good stuff for that data and those metrics. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I think that's really exciting, not only because of staffing, which is of course the first thing that comes to mind, that you could staff at higher levels at your busiest times, but other things like utilities.
Exactly.
When there's 100 people in a room, you probably need to have the heat a little lower than if you have 10 people in a room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it kind of goes back to Ariel's question with the microfilm. We might have to spend a little bit of money to save a little bit of money. And so I'm really excited if this goes through to be able to make this and to have this, the software and to have the data to be able to make more really sound database budget decisions. So I want to go ahead.
Our end to help with like pushing some of these things through, just let us know.
I will. Oh, don't worry. I will always let you guys know for sure. I appreciate that.
Wireless-based computers and things like that, are we going to be making efforts to improve the Wi-Fi?
I'm nodding. I'm sorry. Yes. So one thing that we are also doing is with this, we have been, and the leadership team and the management team we have been in constant conversations about the status of technology at the library. What works well, what doesn't work well, where are some areas for improvement. We actually had a really good meeting with the director of ITS, like 2 weeks ago, and talked about some of these items. And he and I are going to be working to do walking audits of the technology at our locations. And so we're definitely aware of some of the tech challenges. I think the biggest one and the loudest one that I heard was the TechLogic, so the check-in and check-out stuff when I first started. And so I think once we're able to kind of get that one situated, we can then move into some of the other items. Thank you for bringing that up, Ariel.
Thank you.
So with our maintenance and repair requests for next fiscal year, so one thing that was done is in 2019, there was a business process review that was done for the library. And then one large takeaway was the library's system security. So we had a meeting with the folks in the maintenance department, and we talked about having the library move to a badge access system instead of the key codes, because I want to make sure that we are on the same standard for security as the entire county. And so I put in a request for that as well, following up with that meeting and the outcomes from that. Any questions on that? All right, then I will move into, and just so you all know, I put in a capital improvement request for fiscal year 23. And I will be very upfront and honest. I think headquarters needs a renovation, and so I have started the dialogue with. I wanted to put in a feasibility study for the renovation of headquarters library. And so that is what that is. I know that would be an 8 to 10 year process, so I wanted to go ahead and start the conversation as much as possible. And so that is what this request is. Any questions on that? All right, does anybody have any other budget questions? And I can't see you all, so I'm assuming that means you don't have any.
Yeah, no. Unless you have any questions?
No, I think everything's been answered. It looks really good. Your team, Faith, and you have done a great job with this budget.
Thank you. I really have to shout out to Fabian and on all the work that she has done. And I know Nate and Pamela have also been helping out, so I really appreciate their help with putting the budget together.
Yeah, this is Pam's story, and I want to echo that. I thought this budget was very clear and thorough, and I'm very excited about the upcoming year. Thank you, Faith, and your team.
Thank you both.
Okay, I think we need a motion to approve the budget. A motion?
I'll second.
I guess we've already had the discussion, so everybody in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? And it passes unanimously. Fabulous. All right.
I just wanted to say aye because my mic couldn't work. Sorry.
So the next person on the spot is Nate.
Thank you. I'm going to stand on the other side of the table so I can face my adversaries. If you can't hear me on the speaker, just let me know. It's been decided.
Oh, you're fine.
All right. So
We can hear you, Nate.
I'm facilities. So these 4 key things me and Faye talked about. It's in alignment with her forward thinking process. Okay. And just because we may not have the money today doesn't mean we're not going to start implementing things that we want to do in the future. So I broke it down kind of in categories. So West Regional Library. If you've been to West Regional Library, it's a great library. It's modern. It was our newest library, basically 2010. But when it was designed probably in 2006. So by the time 2022 or 2022 comes around, it's kind of like starts to get dated, right? So Faith and I and the rest of LT walked around. We looked at it, and with the new branch manager and Grant. So if you went into the teen area, it had countertops. Well, all countertops are a magnet for teens to sit on top of. Well, with the innovation of going to laptops rather than the desktops, right? We decided to rip out the countertops. We decided to put bookshelving around it, and we made the whole space on the inside it's awesome. It gives them the meeting space, meet and greet, does things like that. We're going to continue on the YS area and also have this countertops. If you've been to West Regional, it has like random countertops on the outside. Basically, all those we're doing was basically put stationary objects on. They look pretty, but it wasn't functional. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to rip those countertops out. We're going to put some more bookshelves around for our basically 11-inch shelving deep. That puts, and it's going to be low hip height. That way the children can get them, and then it's a big, easy reads and stuff like that to have access to. So. And then also what Andrea's doing out there, she's a branch manager, you haven't met her, she's awesome. She's trying to, there's a very claustrophobic space where all the fiction and non-fiction's at. She's been reorganizing, and with the help of Pamela and stuff like that, they've been weeding a lot of old stuff that's been there since 2010. And then we're gonna cut that shelving down lower, so that way we can kind of see and have an open space where it opens up all that sunlight and all of those great windows out there. So that's basically West Regional in kind of a nutshell on what we're doing leading forward. And we're going to finish this fiscal year. There was almost $0 cost to that. We all did it in-house. Everything's going to happen, so it's just modernizing. Bordeaux, we've been doing a lot of, over the years, if you've been to Bordeaux, it has that computer lab in it. And it was great at its time, but no one wants to sit in the front, look at a brick wall, and have 5 rows of computers behind you staring at the back of your head. right? It's just not a welcoming environment. It might have been good back in the early, 2010s, but now it's just not really great. So basically, we've been trying to figure out how to do that. We're going to flip. We're going to make that back to the children's area again. We're going to take all those computers out of that area. We're going to get Bordeaux set up as laptops. That way you don't have a big console of desktops going down the middle of the library. It'll all be opened up. It'll be spaced. And then Ms. Kanoy and all, they're going to move that stuff. Now, we couldn't do it this year because what we need to do is need to buy shelving. And we've discussed that, and we're going to put shelving on all that brick wall that's in there. We're going to put nice, easy-reach shelving all the way around, have a little space for the children, the elf corners in the corner. Much more welcoming for children. Hopefully, because that population down there, there's a lot of people that come in. We just want to make it story times again and stuff like that, and not make it a classroom.
And it's next to an elementary school, isn't
It is. It's right there. And
it? And isn't that the smallest branch too?
square footage? Yes. Yes, it is.
I remember being there and it feels like it's just one room, basically.
It does feel. It kind of feels, yeah, maybe old school library. Like it was built in the 80s.
Like, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
You don't want to feel like that when you walk the library.
Right.
And that serves Hope Mills, which is a lot of young families in the military. They want to go to those story times. They have little kids, and they don't want to drive all the way into downtown and have to worry about parking. They want to go to Bordeaux, and it's quaint, it's little, they can see. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, ad hoc Park Hope Mills, we opened up while we were closed. If you'd ever been to Hope Mills back in the day, it was all kind of weird thing. And we've more wagon wheeled that while we were closed. We did all the renovations. And also, the DOT, they're going to make 2 lanes and 2 lanes. Me and Jeff Brown and a few other people, we petitioned with DOT because there was going to be no turn in to Hope Mills. So they're going to actually make a spot where it's going to be a turn lane to go in.
Okay.
Because it's supposed to be just roundabouts on each end.
Yeah.
So you were only going to be able to go out to the right. Well, now you're not going to be able to go left, but you at least should be able to turn in the other direction.
Very nice.
So that way people coming from like downtown will be able to turn in, not have to go all the way down by the fire department.
Yeah.
So that is stuff like that. We do like that a lot for like companies. So this next fiscal year coming up, Bordeaux, we're going to give it some love. We're going to try to change that atmosphere where it doesn't feel like it's just open room, right? And of course with Faith's idea of going to laptops, we're able to do that. We weren't able to do that before because we had all the computers, which leads us into headquarters. So Ms. Faith talked about 8 years. 8 years from now we might start renovating. We're going to start that process, and we've already kind of started the process. We have lots of little barriers we have to go over, or to eliminate. All our KPIs and KPDs that we kind of develop, we have to kind of remove those. Desktops were a big barrier to us. It took up a lot of floor space, and if you'd been here 10 years ago and there was 55 computers down the middle, it was being used, just not really great for our, it didn't give us the feel we wanted. So we just removed all the desktop computers except for the express terminals for now. Went to a laptop range. We have, I think, like 13 to 19 computers on hand, laptops that you just check out, check in, which sounds like an easy thing to do, except when you start talking about our user agreements and things like that, and what we have to do to change, and who can check out a laptop. Lots of behind the scenes, lots of these ladies back here doing a lot of mind crunching things. Mind crunching things, it is, literally. So what we're going to do for headquarters, we're starting is with Birch, branch manager here. We're going to remove the library book stacks that are adult in nature from the second floor, and we're going to put all that stuff on the first floor.
I want to be here when you all do.
I would happy to both and Carrie, but call me, please.
Well, I would be willing to bet that if you talk to tell Liz right now, she would be happy to take things. Right now, they're weeding a lot of that upstairs section because we don't want to just mindlessly move a bunch of stuff from the second floor to the first floor and then have. No one wants that.
Hey,
right?
I'll help with that too. Give her my number, please.
There you go.
I'm excited.
Can I know this is a little bit off topic, but Faith, can I ask you a question about weeding? Or do I ask Hannah?
You can ask either one of us, or you could ask it generally, and both of us can answer.
You know what? After sorry.
So we're going through the process right now. The first kind of thing was we removed the desktop to the laptops, right? Remove all the barriers and all the other problems we have in place. If you go to the first floor right now, you can see all the tables are still there. that was because we didn't want to just remove tables. We didn't want to make a step that we couldn't go backwards. That bottom area will be a lot more stack orientated because we're going to use our existing stacks that we have now. Right? It's free. It's just labor. We just move it downstairs, and then we take the upstairs. And I'm sure Ms. Space talked to you about grants and stuff going on with that. We're going to try to remake that space as a youth service area only. Right? It will be open. It'll be more welcoming, especially with we got Miss Carla. She's working with the which one is it? School over here, trying to get more kids in this building.
Oh, yeah, capital.
Capital. Yeah, right. That we're trying to make that space a more conducive area to that. So that will be the big thing you'll see over this next 10 months, where we're just shifting stuff around and making it happen, and it's going to look probably horrible at the beginning until we can figure it all out, because it'll be one stacks here. And some of our patrons, we have to spend a lot of time thinking about them because they're so used to walking in the same stack, the same thing. My books are here, and now they're not going to be. So it's going to be a lot. So a lot of things that we say we would just like to do, we have to think about our public and our own staff, and there's lots of changes. So that is headquarters in a nutshell. And we're going to prep this. That way it allows us in 4 or maybe 4 years to go, yeah, that space is actually going to work. Because if you build it, they may not come. So we have to make sure. Now, tech logic. Miss Faith hit on a lot of stuff on tech logic. Now, tech logic is a name, but most people don't realize that it is every piece of our little thing. So as a patron, they walk in the building, they grab a book off the shelf, they walk up to the counter, they stick it on the pad, they don't know what it belongs to, they hit a keypad, they don't know what it belongs to, and they walk out, and the book may be at them or not. All of that had some sort of tech logic behind it. Tech logic is a software and a hardware development company. They may not develop the hardware, but they look at compatibilities and all the other things. So what does tech logic do for us? Well, the patron pulls the book off, he or she may not walk out 9 feet. Well, that has an RFID tag reader in it that Pamela's crew has put inside of it. They program it with an NC Cardinal, within Evergreen. That book, if it goes out, beeps, that was part of tech logic. The door counters, tech logic, allows us to see something. To give you a little idea, 3 years ago, we weren't using tech logic door counters. The statistics we got statistics, but they weren't what Ms. Faith needs. Ms. Faith needs to know when a person's in the building, whether they're walking in the building, or whether they're walking out the building, all those things. So if you were to look at our numbers right now, our door counters, those are accurate. Those are accurate because I know when a person walks in the building or walks out of the building. I can know that there's more people that walk in the building than out of the building. How does that happen? The staff walk out this way. And they walk in front, and they walk out the back. So we know who's staff and who's not staff. This also goes to the search person, right? So the search person is looking at a book. He or she's checking out that book. Maybe someone says, you might call up Ms. Irene and say, I returned my book. Where's my book at? I don't know where your book is at. Maybe we missed something. Maybe when she clicked in, it didn't click in. Well, every month or 2 or 3 months, they have these little readers. They can go down the aisles, and that thing will pick up every book that's in that aisle. And she can do a report whether it's still checked out. How's it still checked out? It's on the shelf. Or if it's missing. That's all tech logic. It's hardware and software development.
Anything that's not in available status shows up on the screen. You can pull it. And they get it checked in, it gets taken care of. They also use it a lot. Some of the busier branches wand every card before it shells, so they catch it before it goes to the shelf.
Because just because I stick it on that pad that you did, that's tech logic. Right? So tech logic, the little screen where, and I love this because I tell Ms. Faith, I'm the hardware and software guy, and I say to Ms. Faith, you tell me what you want for food. So that screen that we see is just black and white. Soon will be color. It'll have things like advertising, so do whatever you want. Program. It's capable to do way more than it is. So that's where that money came in. It's coming into place. So the next step would be the branch manager, whatever. He or she is using some of the statistics within the technology base camp. Then we go to the next thing with Ms. Pamela and her crew. Her crew sticks every RFID tag in there, every reader that goes in there, all that goes in the database, scans the program, it's a lot of labor. And then we go to a level higher, which is Ms. Faith, we're talking about Basecamp. Basecamp does a lot of metrics that we would never be able to have without TechLogic, right? Those develop all of our KPIs and our KPIs. Very important, like you were talking about this, Irene, about the whole, whether we're open at a certain time. You pay electricity, so peak times, non-peak times, right? This building, you stay open during a peak time, rack up $6,000 extra on our light bill for that month, just because that's a one-time fee, you have to pay for a peak. So we look at a lot of that stuff, and we're analyzing so Sundays coming in, headquarters will be open on Sundays for those 4 or 5 hours. We want to be here for the public, but we want to make sure that we're most banquets like on that.
So y'all tell all your friends to come to the library Sunday afternoon.
If we want, yes.
Well, it sounds great. It sounds like what it makes me think about is like a website, and then like the algorithms you can get using the data of everybody that like you're getting like cookies. Not exactly, but it allows you, because then you can use that information to work more efficiently and serve better. I think it's awesome. It sounds great.
Miss Ann, if you want, we could talk hours and hours and hours about typology, we just don't have time today. But if you wanted to, any questions like that, you address it in space, we can answer your questions. And there's a lot of stuff in there.
So I have 2 questions.
Yes.
You mentioned we're keeping the desktops for self-checkout. Is that eventually wanting to move to like tablets, like the tablet stands, or are we just saying, nope, the desktops are for self-checkout? Is there a future plan for?
The desktops are just
You said the only desktops that are going to be upstairs here are going to be the ones with. I'm sorry, yes, express checkouts.
Currently,
Okay. Are you planning on moving that to like the laptop or the tablet stands, or is there a future plan?
Possibly, yes. If we find out we can get the laptops for cheap, it would be a different reason though.
Okay.
Generally speaking, our express terminals right now don't require any sort of ID card, anything. Anybody can walk out. Our transient population, meaning not just transient here, I'm talking about like a person like Clickdale, the very transient, meaning people, businesses that come in there, they walk in, they need to print something, they go up to self-checkout, stick their USB in there, print out, doesn't require them to have anything to do with Cumberland County.
Gotcha.
With a laptop, it would be a little, I'm sure that in the future for power, because.
I think I misunderstood what.
Yes.
I mixed up self-checkout.
No, but you're okay, because it's important that we look at that, because the computer and a monitor and stuff like that costs $900, I can replace it with a $600 laptop that uses half the power. A whole bunch of reasons why we would probably, the future will go to a laptop base, or possibly a kiosk base in the future, where we just have sort of a pad in a stand, does the same feature.
Just to clarify the terminology, the express terminals are the 15-minute interviews.
Yeah, that's where I'm confused. Yeah, that's where I was confused. Second question is, you're talking about doing a lot of data collection.
Yes.
What are we doing on the security side for our patrons to secure their information?
Their personal information?
Yeah.
So currently, if a patron comes from outside logs in the computer, they do a session. Once they log off that system, it's the computer is what's called RIS, okay? And RIS means all the personal data, it's wiped out clean, and they log back in, and it's a brand new thing. There is a downside of that. If you walk away from your desktops for 5 minutes, and you come back on, it is gone. It is gone forever. It is in a virtual environment that is just it's literally a virtual environment.
So are they signing in with their library card, and like that information is being tracked on their card number, or is it totally?
It's totally gone. So to tell you, so if I grab a laptop currently from headquarters, I walk up, because we now do not require them to go through the station anymore. I take a laptop, I sit down, I take my library card number, and I type it in, it logs me in. Right? While I'm logged in, we could take up and look in the system and say, Nate Mahaney's logged into PC 123. So that close thing, and I log off and I go away, that is no longer, our staff are no longer able to see that Nate Mahaney used that laptop. It would save the, there's a number that's tied to it, but it won't be the account number. So if I needed to, let's say I get a FOIA request or something like that, or a warrant or something like that, right? Someone comes in and says, I need to know who uses this computer. I'll be like, okay, I need to know when, how, then we can submit that data to our IT, not RT here, but the company itself, and they could actually pull out the information and look at it. But we can't see it after. Once they log out, we don't have the ability to look them up anymore.
So we have aggregate data. not to jump in, sorry, Nate, I thought you were done, I apologize. So the data that we have, like Nate's saying, it's aggregate data. So we can't see, you know, what a customer has, like Nate was saying, once they go on there, we can't see what they do. But we can track statistics of like, you know, in this GIS area, there are more hotspots tracked at, you know, checked out, or in this GIS, you know, people are driving, you know, to come check out children's books, but we can't see that, you know, Sally Sue checked out Pete the cat. So it's very, when we talk about data and statistics, it's very aggregate, very high level, not personal information data.
Yeah, right now we're looking at future going with our IT, trying to figure out when our hotspots are logged in, maybe how long a person's logged in, and where they're at in the building. Because we just updated all our new APs or our access points within the last like 7 months. So every library now is brand new set like or APs, like our AP for this building right here is big.
Where are you having problems?
No, every day my life is just on fire. It's a fire. I don't have anything that really that needs to come per se to this room. This is the first time you probably met me in person, so it's just a day-to-day small bush fire per se. We don't have anything that shoots up on the regular. Right. Now I do understand when I came in, you want to talk about roofs and things like that. And
Well, no, here's the roof is an example because I've heard about it so much.
I'm sure.
But having said that, if I've heard about one specific roof on a library that I don't use regularly, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, that means the problem is larger than just, oh, well, there's a drip that's gonna get fixed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know Faye has heard this before. You all are doing such a great job every day, all of you. That, and you bring those sort of, I don't want to say stories, but you know, you bring that to us. At the same time, we want to hear about the things that are not very successful or not so successful, because we all are a very diverse group, and there may be a way we can help. Is that a diplomatic way of saying it?
Very good. I really appreciate it. Yes, there are certain struggles, but lots of them are more engineering struggles that, like,
Well, that
first, you walk through this library for years, and that front ramp, right? You walk up the front ramp. That front ramp is no longer ADA compliant. If you were to do anything to that, it is ADA compliant because we are grandfathered. Okay? But Miss Blue, you know, when she comes in there and she talks to me every day, or when she doesn't, I make a point because Miss Blue. She tells me, hey, you know this thing? I was like, I know. But the only way to fix that would be to extend it 20 feet into our parking lot.
Is it too steep?
It is slightly too steep, right? They changed it. And so if someone like Ms. Blue says, hey, that is a problem, and she puts underneath her thumb. But the only fix is to just remove the parking lot.
Yeah, no, don't do it.
So you understand, so just like North Regional, we have the leaky roof, right? Once we figure out where it's at, I mean, it doesn't rain every day. We don't live in Washington State. So to try to find where the leak is, but we have success stories, like we fixed the leaks at West Regional. You know, West Regional used to have the activity room, that was from when it was built. We've ripped off that whole part of the roof, spent $80,000, well, the company did. We did, they warranted it after it was warranty was gone. So we do have success on a lot of that stuff, but we also understand to the staff personnel that, you know, like Miss Amy, she's sitting in her office, same office for 25 years, the tile's still leaking for 25 years, right? And eventually, when we do spend a lot of time getting it fixed, it's a thanks, right? It's a thank you.
Yeah.
But if the seal guy had a drip on it, I change out every month. You know, so how much effort and how much money do we spend, you know? Can we fix it? Sure. We could take $400,000, $500,000, rip off the whole roof, replace it, and create ourselves a new leak somewhere else. It's big building with a lot of stuff. So we look at it like that from a holistic point of view, and then if it gets to the point where it is a hazard or something like that, we then all team up together, Jermaine and Jeremy and all of them will be like, okay, it is time, we now have to fix it. right now that leak is important, but the bigger thing is up here at our parking lot. You know, the little sinkhole thing that's going on, the washout. There's a washout, there's a washout. Yeah. If you-
Parking, I'm hard.
It's not a sinkhole,
Parked off.
it's nothing, it is and it isn't, it's not a threat to any of our vehicles, but you know, that's a project that could be $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, because they're gonna have to do a whole bank. Yeah, so those are projects that we try to put a lot of effort into because it's gonna impact us greater. Because that parking lot, you know, if they ever decide to do it, that parking lot may be closed down for 9, 10, 12 months.
Well, and what's a bigger safety issue? Someone getting hurt there or
It is, but
Fire.
yeah, it's more of something that we do need to take care of for, you know, EPA and stuff like that. We do focus on a lot of those. So internally, we do a lot bigger projects too. So we do know the leaks. I can tell you almost every lake, and I will talk about every one of them.
No, please don't.
No, but if you ever had a question though, please ask away. I think everyone has my email. If something that's annoying you, like you walk into your branch, whatever branches you belong to, and it does annoy you, you're like, why is this not fixed? Just let me know, and I can give you way more information you probably want.
I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say it's really nice. We talk about a lot of theoretical up here, like what if this happens things. It's nice to hear from someone like you, boots on the ground, like, no, I'm dealing with day-to-day issues that still involve patrons, still involve the library. It's good to hear.
Yeah, I love
It's
hearing.
good to hear.
Yeah, we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars last year in HVACs and boilers and things like that, and doors and all that stuff.
Patrons don't see that.
No, but
they appreciate
we need to know it from a group point of view, that we do spend a lot of money, and Ms. Faye said $2 million out of the $10.8 million budget is operating costs, and like she alluded to before, we save probably anywhere from $3,000 a month to $8,000 a month in electricity and things like that. That comes back in the coffers and allows us to handle it, to buy more books, so that way the people out there, our taxpayers that come in, can actually see and actually use something. We're not just some pretty object on the corner of the street.
Just kidding.
So,
Thank you very much.
if you have any questions,
We'll email you.
please do so.
Thank you, Nate.
Audit my email before I send it out.
We'll put in a service request.
Yes.
Can I ask Pam a question about weeding, please?
Go ahead.
So we hear a lot about weeding, right? Which I assume is people going through the stacks and finding out books that you all are going to eliminate one way or another, correct? So when you're weeding any particular section of the library, do the people, what happens? Do you give people a list and say, go pull these books? Or does, for example, a youth librarian weed the youth section? Somebody that has some sort of knowledge about.
It's like juggling multiple balls, okay? You read for, you use a variety of criteria. First and foremost, the circulation base. We have that Collection HQ software, which is an evidence-based management system, which gives us data based on circulation usage. And you, based on, they're called dead items that have circulated in a certain period of time. The basic standard for the branches is 2 years, no cert, you take a look at it if it's a hardcover, 1 year if it's a paperback or an AP material. Headquarters, it's 3 years. And it doesn't mean you get rid of it, it means you take a look at it and decide, do you really need to keep it, okay? So that's based on cert. Another thing that's kind of based on cert is called the grubbies. The Collection HQ gives us a report of items that have circulated a set period of time. 50 for hardcover books, 25 for paperbacks, 40 for audiobooks, and 100 for adult DVDs and 75 for children's, because children check them out and they watch them 6 times, adults check them out, and 3 and 4 will actually get watched, okay? And then you look, and then your expertise comes in, is that, no, this is still in good enough condition. Or when you're going through, you have your list, but you're also always watching for, oh wait, that book looks disgusting. One of the criteria for reading is the publication date of the material. Gardening book that's 10 years old, a math book that's 10 years old, That's pretty cool. A book on cancer treatment, a book on other health-related things that's more than 3 or 4 years old. You want to look closely, is it still relevant? Okay? So when I set up, I have actually, can we do reading schedules in Collection HQ? And right now, we're focusing on age of the materials, because I didn't want to read based on certain, because we were closed for a year. That's just not fair. And so they can pull up a list, filter it by whatever, we made the settings really broad so that we can narrow it, because some branches, Bordeaux is so tight with their adult fiction, Cliffdale is so tight with their adult fiction, that sometimes it's a case of if it has gone up 18 months, you get considered.
Yeah, so,
So circulation, condition, and relevancy.
Yes, yes. And multiple copies, we may have to have bought 8 copies for a branch at a time, because they have a zillion holds, and it's 6 months down the road, and the holds just aren't there. Well, let's get rid of a couple, and then a few months later, you get rid of a couple more, till you're down to the two that you need to fill. If there's not a straight answer to it, and we get them, we have numbers, it's evidence-based to give them the basic list to work with, but then it comes to the expertise and experience of the selectmen to make the final decision.
okay, I was asking because I was thinking about, I was weaving through my garage the other day, and I found a newspaper from 2008. And that sort of triggered the question, because I thought, okay, if you weed by age, how does that apply, for example, to the State of History Room? I mean, does that then mean that the fabled Zora from 1963 is going to?
It's a microfilm, and we keep it as long as we can keep it for review.
Well, that one's just more like an archive, and that's a circulating.
Yeah, on a day-to-day basis, on a regular basis, the current newspapers are weeded after a week.
Okay.
So we keep a week's worth, depending on.
Which was my next question, because, I mean, if that collection would grow, then the whole building would be just State of History.
And since it's now available digitally, and then the magazines are on a 12-month rotating, so when the May 2022 issue comes in, the May 2021 issue is.
Irene, here's kind of an interesting perspective on the materials in local and state history. There are certain, the general statutes get republished periodically, but we have to keep back sets of former versions for.
Isn't that in the law library?
The law library is in local and state history. So that's why we have to keep multiple copies of the general statutes, and then the city directories. A lot of those are irreplaceable. So that's why we handed those for historical, for archival purposes.
The other reason I was asking is, I don't mean to make this a one-on-one conversation, I promise this is the last question. Is because, with all the news of so-called book bans that are, so I was interested in looking at a couple of these LGBTQ children's books, because I've never read one, I thought, okay, take a look. So I thought, okay, you guys have a couple of those. So if that book sits on a shelf because somebody requested it for their kid 10 years ago, and it has only been checked out 3 times, does that then mean that it will be?
Eventually it will be DSS. Because shelf space costs money.
Well, of course,
Yeah, so it's like.
So it's not a subject matter determination, it's more of a circulation and age.
At that point, but there are times when you keep a book because there is a good reason to keep. Headquarters is the location of last resort.
Okay.
If it's a last system copy, it comes to me or to someone at headquarters who makes a determination to yes, give it to the doctor. So like series, last copies of series titles, or Pulitzer Award winner authors, or things like that. We go through, but again, if it hasn't gone out in 4 or 5 years, do we, except for state and local history, because that's all reference,
Yeah.
do we really? Okay, I could go on and on and on. Reading is one of my passions, because customers deserve a clean, current, and exciting collection. Thank you.
You
And
weigh,
thank you all for being so patient.
you weigh diversity against And not in a bad way.
Oh,
This is not,
Collection HQ just added, they'll indicate if it fits into the DPI category.
Right.
So I've been telling people to really
That's
pay
what I
close
read in
attention
the
to those
budget.
items, and if there's any doubt, to keep it.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's everything from ethnicity to.
like you were talking about the
Gender
LGBTQ and-
to mental illness.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on those items, the instruction has gone out is that any items that fit in that category, they need to look more closely at and to be
Not as
less
flippant.
hesitant,
Yeah.
less, they need to not get rid of it unless there's a.
And what happens with the books, I did say that was the last question. What happens with the books that you guys weed out? Do they go to the Friends for Sale?
We sell. If you're interested in books like that, I would check out a blog called Diversity in Kids Lit. Is a really good blog. It's either diversity or disability in Kids Lit, and they talk about like anything that's been published with a main character that has a disability, whether it's diabetes, mental illness, a birth defect, things like that, or there's like an LGBTQ collection. I want to say it's diversity. I was about to say that's not a disability. It's a really good blog. It's updated constantly. It's got a really great collection of titles in there.
Cool. Do we have any other business? Faith, are you asleep on the couch?
No, I'm still here. Here I am.
She's hanging on.
I'm hanging on.
All right, if there is no other business, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
We'll move.
I second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.
Thanks for joining us, Dennis.
Pam, can I call?
All right, thank you. You all take care.